Hi everyone. So I want to get started on creating this By the Seaside album. But first I want to show you, I hope that you've watched my walkthrough of the finished album by now so that you can see all the mechanics of how that works. I've started doing my albums in two-part videos, a walkthrough when it's completed, and then of course my tutorial. It makes the videos a little shorter for YouTube, and for some people, they don't want to watch every step by step. So just seeing the album gives them ideas. And so that's why I started doing that. First, I want to show you what I've used. So this is a 8.5 by 8.5 album. I have used most of the 12 by 12 collection. So there's not a lot of this left of the By the Seaside, which is a Country Craft Creations exclusive. You, of course, can make this album with any of your favorite collections. I'm also using the Artisan Kraft cardstock. I will be using some of the Artisan linen cardstock, the natural color, some blue cardstock from my stash, as well as some heavier ivory cardstock from my stash. So you'll need those pieces as well. And I will tell you, I don't normally make 8.5 by 8.5 albums, and I did this in the Tamara's lay flat method, using two 8.5 by 8.5 pieces of lightweight chipboard and a piece of 3 by 8.5 lightweight chipboard. And I'm wishing now that I would have used the heavier weight chipboard, but I'm going to go with it and see. I think once all the paper's on here, it'll be much sturdier. My spine here is a 5-page accordion spine system. I do not have a tutorial for that. Those are pretty easy. There are tutorials out there for the accordion spine systems. And mine have 3/4 inch gussets with 1/2 inch spaces. So we'll have a total of 10 pages here. 5 sheets go in. So again, that was done in the lay flat method. And I just want to show you how I organize. I always have a box on the side, some sort of container. I have a lot of different cut aparts here. And then I just label everything. So this is my covers and my linings and my pockets for the inside and the outside of the album. I have my page 1, 2 all cut out here. My page 3, 4 all cut out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's how I do mine. So we're going to start with the page 1, 2. I'm going to put my linings and everything back in here. We're going to get these pages decorated. So page 1 and 2, this is going to be our pocket on this side here. So we have a nice tuck pocket. And then this flaps over that, and we will put a magnet here to hold this closed. So it'll flap over what we put underneath. So what you need for that, for the Kraft cardstock portion, the flap measures 7.5 by 7, and it is scored at 1/2 inch down the left side, and that's going to go on our paper this way. The decorative paper for that, for both sides, so you need one front, is going to be 6 7/8 by 6 7/8, and then we have a lining page that's also that 6 7/8 by 6 7/8, and I think I was doing this one actually. Okay, next you have your tuck pocket. So how this was done, I'm going to move these pieces out of my way here, and our page, flip side page over here. So this is done using a full 12-inch wide piece by the the width of this is 8 1/4. Our pages will all be 8 1/4. So then I took that and I scored that right at the 8 1/4, and I have this little flap left over, and this is going to become our pocket, our little tuck spot. Okay, so for this you need the paper underneath, which is going to be this piece here, and that measures 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. We will have our inside piece, which is going to be, I gotta remember which way I had this. Yes, this is the outside, this is the inside. So we just have this nice, gorgeous blue that goes on the inside, and these measure, both the front one and the back one, are going to measure at 3 5/8 by that 8 1/8 mark, okay? So let's get started. I am going to ink these pages and go ahead and put them in and show you how I did that. Okay, so I have those all inked up. I'm going to go ahead and lay this piece down first on here like so. We're just going to add our glue. Okay, and then on to the next piece, which is this lovely piece with all this little collage. I was going to use the blue, but I kind of like this better. Not sure, actually, now. I think we're going to go with the colorful one. And I've used Vintage Photo Distress ink on these. That is optional. You can use anything you want, or you don't have to ink them at all if you're okay with leaving them just plain. Okay, and then we're going to close that. And we are going to add our fun little, you know what, I think I had done this on purpose when I cut this so that it was the same. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and do it that way. And then see, that paper lines up. I like to coordinate my papers as well as I possibly can. So that is our page 1. We're going to do that portion. And then we're going to go ahead and decorate our flap piece that will go on here. Now this portion will have a magnet, which I just realized. So when I put this on, I failed to tell you that there is a magnet underneath here. So that was just placed right around the middle of the page. So when we do this one, when we decorate this side, we're going to add a magnet as well. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this cover. And then I will tell you the measurement again, just in case you didn't jot it down. Hopefully you grab some paper and a pencil and you can kind of jot down the measurements as we go along. I do not have a cut guide. I will just be giving the measurements as I put the album together for you. Again, this piece, and I cut this on purpose. I love this image. I think I've used it 2 or 3 times in here because there's a couple images in this paper that's just absolutely gorgeous. That go really well where they're put. So this is 6 7/8 again by 6 7/8, and we're going to put this piece down. And you could put the magnet on the cover or on the underside like I'm going to do. Like I said, there's already a magnet on our flap. Place this down. And I love using this We Are Memory Keeper smoothing tool. I'm not quite sure what it's actually meant for, but this is what I use it for. I just absolutely love it. So now we're going to do our back side. And before we do that, I'm going to take my other magnet. Get this ink out here. So we have our magnet here, and I want to find where it's going to close that. So what I want to do, and I probably should have put a magnet underneath, but that's okay. This will hold it closed. So next I'm going to take this here. This is going to go here. So we need to figure out right where we want this and then put the magnet on. So I'm just going to take a little bit of sticky. Grab this fun little machine here and just sticky the back of this magnet really quick. And you can do this any way you want. You can use a little piece of score tape. It's just so it will adhere momentarily to our other page, which is this here. So this is going to be right about here. I don't think I'm in camera. And we're going to go there. Make sure it's nice and straight. And that'll pick up that magnet so that it's right there before you put your paper on. Okay? So, I'm going to peel that backing off. And I'm going to apply my other piece of paper, which is this blue. And I think it goes this way, actually. Okay. Run my Vintage Photo Distress ink on there. And just burnish real well around that magnet. Okay, so next we're going to place this on here. Now you could put this under the paper, this bottom paper, if you like. I did not do that. I probably should have. But since I didn't, I'm just going to run a strip of paper inside of here. And that's a way to quick fix if you make that same mistake that I made. And I'm actually going to use my score tape runner here. Or you can use score tape just because of this being a flap. I'm going to burnish it out really, really well first. And then I'm just going to run this, which is an actual 1/2 inch runner. And I'm going to run it down this because I think it will adhere a little bit better. It's nice and sticky. So then we're just going to pull this in. And we're going to pull this up for a second and find that magnet just to make sure that we line up with our magnet. And then line up with your paper and press it down. And see, as you can see, I probably should have put that under the paper. Live and learn. So I'm going to dive into my scraps really quick and fix this. Show you how I would fix it. Okay, so I just grabbed a scrap paper from the same sheet, and it's 3/8 by 6 7/8, and I'm going to put that on that little 1/2 inch flap, and it coordinates well with the paper. So this is one way you can fix it if you don't put the paper underneath. Rather than ripping your paper or trying to pull it up, this is another way to fix it, and I'm okay with the way it looks because, like I said, it does coordinate nicely with the paper, so it's okay. In a perfect world, I would have put that flap underneath before I laid this sheet down. So now we have our first page ready to go. We have a flap here, big spot here for pictures, smaller spot here for pictures, and then we magnet closed. And that will go in our on our spine. And we will put that in the book before we decorate the other side so that we cover that flap on the other side. So now I'm going to pull the book in. This is going to go right here on my hinge, my first hinge. So what I want to do is I'm going to take my book and I'm going to take my score tape gun. You could use score tape. I'm just going to use this gun. And I want to make sure I'm right on that edge. And I'm going to run this right down to the end. Okay. And then I'm just going to add a little glue just for extra to make sure it sticks nice. And we are going to put that in our book. So you just want to line that up. It is the same. I made my hinges the same size as my pages. So they are 8 1/4. You don't want to go all the way to the fold where the score line is, just up close to it. Make sure it closes okay. And then you can burnish down your hinge on top of there. And burnish that nicely because you want to be able to put your paper on top of here. Okay, so on to page 2, which is this lovely piece of paper, and it will go right here. And again, it is 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. All right, so I'll put that down. And I want to leave a little bit of space, just like all the other pages. And well, there we go. Okay, so that page is down. Now we have a fun little pocket. Now the pocket is created using a 9 1/4 by 4 1/2, and it's scored at 1/2 inch on 3 of the sides. And then I've mitered those bottom corners. Okay, so that's going to be our pocket, and it's going to be a side pocket, and these are going to coordinate. So when this opens, our page 3 has this same paper and another pocket that matches. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this pocket cover and put it on, and then we'll adhere the pocket. Set my book off to the side here so I don't get glue on it mistakenly. Oh, and the pocket cover, sorry about that, is 3 7/8 by 8 1/8. And when you put it on, keep in mind, you want the opening facing this way. So you want to make sure that when this goes on your pocket, that you have the image in the right spot, if you're cutting the exact same paper as me here. And that is going to become a pocket that will house a photo mat. Get all that glue pushed down. I think I got this a little crooked. There we go. Hopefully my glue was not quite dry yet. All right, so now we're going to put glue on our flaps, our little 1/2 inch gussets here for a pocket. And that's the only place you want glue. You don't want it anywhere else but on the gussets themselves. You can also do this with score tape. It's totally up to you. And this will go, so make sure that you're facing the right direction. Your opening will be here on this page. On the other one, it'll be on the other side. So we want to make sure that we pick up our page and line this up with the craft paper. So your actual page, not the colored or the decorative paper. We just want to make sure we get this on here nice and straight before we do any burnishing. Get all the excess glue out of there. And then I'm going to take a flat bone folder, and I'm just going to go in holding the middle down. I'm going to go in and just burnish out those gussets that are what's sticking the pocket down. We want to make sure that those stick nicely. And see, now you have this fun little pocket. So that is our page 1 and 2. You have this fun little closure here. So next we're going to move to the page that will go here, and we're going to decorate that one. And let me grab that out. So that, remove all of the portions for the back side here and our pocket. So for this one, we have the other side of that image. So this came from the same sheet of paper, where this is on the top and this is on the bottom. So as you can see, when this is open, you'll have this nice flow of your papers. So this is going to be adhered exactly the same way that we adhered this one. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that, and I will be right back. Okay, so page 4. What you will need for this, obviously we already have our page 3 here, and the back side of page 3 is page 4, and that will be this paper here. For me, you can if you're following along and using a different paper, whatever paper you are using here, this is going to be 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. You'll need that. And then we're going to have this flap here, which is 7 1/2 by 8 1/4. And that is scored at 1/2 inch down the right side. So that ends up being 7 by 8 1/4. We also have this flap, which is 4 1/2 by 8 1/4, and also scored on that right side, leaving us a 4 by 8 1/4. Okay, so first things first, we want to place this piece down on here before we add this paper so we can cover our little flap here. And I am just going to burnish this down a little bit better before I add my score tape to this. And I'm going to use this Easy Runner, my scrapbook adhesives again. It's exactly that 1/2 inch, pretty close. And I like that because then I can just run right down to the bottom. And I went over a little and I don't want that. So just make sure that that's all clean. And this goes right along here. So you want to just pick up your page. Hopefully I'm in camera. And just line it up with that edge as straight as you possibly can. So that is that portion. Then you want to take your smaller flap, which is this one, and we're going to do the same thing, but put it on this one. These are all the same length. They're all 8 1/4, so it's pretty easy to line them up. I am just going to go in and I am going to line this one up now on top of this one. And then just go in with your bone folder and make sure that you get all of those nice and burnished. And as you can see, that's going to give us this flap and this flap. And we will have magnets on this page. I have a little bit of extra score tape down here I need to get rid of. I'm doing that. I have a little, I'm going to fix that with glue. Okay, so then flip to the opened here. And we're going to go ahead and apply that 8 1/8 by 8 1/8 sheet of paper to here. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. So before I put that paper down, I'm just going to grab one of my sets of magnets here. And I am going to place a magnet right around the middle of this page here. I just want to make sure that it's close to the middle. And I want to make sure that it's on here. So we want to go back a little ways. And then right about the middle of the page. I don't think I'm quite on the middle there. And then I just want to take my second one and have it find it. So I know where that one needs to go. And I'm just going to grab some score tape here so that I can, you know what, I'm just going to leave that one on there like so, because we're going to have 2 more magnet sets here. This will take a total of 2 sets of your magnets when you do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that magnet right where it belongs. The next set we want to place is going to be for the second flap. So for this flap, find where this is at, make sure we're covering it, and that's not quite where I wanted to say. It's picking up the magnet in the background there. There we go. We just want to make sure, so I'm going to go ahead and peel that backing off of this one. Now they'll all close nicely. I think I'm going to move this one over more towards the edge of my paper here. Okay, so then we'll have this magnet here, to that one back on there and put my score tape on there. I forgot to put that on there. Just gonna grab a little piece of score tape here, put that over that magnet. And now we have our magnets placed. So you have one for that set for this flap and one set for this flap. Okay. And then we can lay down our patterned paper, starting with this back piece here. Give that a good burnish, especially around that magnet. And then we will move. I'm going to turn my book this way to put this one in, just keeping in mind that I am sideways. And then I have this piece of the decorative paper, and this is going to measure at, I do believe, 6 7/8. 6 7/8 by 8 1/8. And I just cut from this beachy pattern here. And this, of course, will go this way here. I just want to make sure that that magnet's still going to work when there's paper on here, or if I need to put it on this side. You know what? Because of the thickness, I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull my magnet. I do think that it will work out better if I put it on the inside rather than the outside. That magnet will have a little bit more stick to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this piece here. Okay, so for this piece here, for this page, the front portion, what we have is a piece of ivory cardstock that measures 6 7/8 by 6 1/8, okay? And that will be the top portion of this here. And then I have cut from the strip page that has the different scene here. And I've cut that down. I've cut it the height that it is. 6 7/8 long, just like this. And then it is 3 inches tall. And this will go here. And that will act as a tuck spot. And then we have a blue that I cut from my stash. That's just a coordinating color of solid cardstock that measures 3 7/8 by 8 1/8. And that will go here, as you can see. And then we have these smaller pieces of the scene that go together. And that is going to go right here as another little pocket. And we'll probably put a tag or something in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and adhere those, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to add the little pocket tuck spot that is our little scene here. And I have just added glue on the sides and across the bottom. And then that will just line up with the ivory paper. And now we have this fun little tuck spot here. And I will probably use some of the die cuts that you get with the collection on these pages up here in the corners. This page, page 5, mimics this page. It's a mirrored image of this. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together and start page 5 with what we've already done here, and then I will be back. Okay, so page 5 is a mirrored image of page 4. So we are just I'm going to run through this pretty quickly. Before adhering anything, I've adhered my flaps all together so that the paper hides the 1/2 inch score lines. And we have our magnets, so we have one here and here. And then for this, we have one here. And what happened here? I'm missing the other portion. It must have fallen. There it is. It didn't attach. So we'll have one on this too. I just need to add a little bit of tape to that so that it sticks to the page here. So then you have magnet here, magnet here, magnet here, and magnet here. Okay? And now we can adhere our papers. And like I said, they're just a mirror image. So I have my paper here with the script that's going to go on the lower. This is the largest piece at 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. And I've already inked all of these papers with Vintage Photo Distress ink. Okay. Make sure all of my edges are adhered nicely. This one does not seem to want to have enough glue on it, so go under that edge a little bit more. And be very careful if you're using a smoothing tool when you have magnets so you don't rip your paper. Just kind of make sure that you smooth around the magnet but not across it, because you will rip your paper. Okay, next we have our inside piece here. I'm going to go ahead and peel this backing off that magnet, which is again my ocean look. Okay, and then on to this one here. Again, I'm going to peel that magnet off. All right, and then we have our ivory cardstock that goes on the top here. And this is 6 7/8 inches wide because our flap is 7. But you can, depending on what paper you're using, you can make this the full page and make it the 8 1/8 long. But any length will work because you're going to have a tuck spot here. As long as at least it's as long as 6 1/8 to cover your tuck spot, then it's fine. This one is a little longer than the other one I did, and that is, like I said, that is totally fine because our tuck spot goes here. So it does not have to be exact. It does have to not be crooked, though, at least for me. I am not a fan of crooked. My magnet kind of pushed my paper off to the side. All right, so now I have, again, we don't want to smooth around. I'm going to use a smaller bone folder for this. We don't want to smooth too harshly around that magnet, because if you do, your paper has a high chance of ripping, and you don't want that. So then we have our little tuck spot pocket. So we want glue down this side, across the bottom, and up the side. As minimal with the glue as you can be, because we want this to be a tuck spot. And you could add gussets to this if you want. I just like the way it lays flatter when you do it as a tuck rather than a full-on gusseted hinged pocket. But again, it's all up to you how you decorate this. Okay, there's that part. Now we have our, I did switch with the other one. I didn't really care much for the blue that I had picked, so I cut some out of the same ivory. I just think that looks better. So I'm going to go with ivory rather than the blue with this collection. I have to put something here because I need to cover my magnet. I'll put that flap on. I'm noticing this flap is a little too long. I might have grabbed the wrong piece of paper. Let me just see here. Nope. It's just a little bit too long. I need this to be 8 1/8. And something is telling me this is longer than that. No, it is not. Yeah, it is. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Let me just snip this off a little bit. Not sure what happened there. But it is definitely too long. There we go. Okay. So then this piece here will be 3 7/8 by that 8 1/8 of the flap. The flap is 8 1/4. Probably would say actually it's 8. Yeah, I would go with 8 on this. All right, let me check here. Yeah, no, they're 8 1/8. So then the flap side, flap cover again is 3 7/8 inches wide and 8 1/8 inch tall. And I did, like I said, switch to this, excuse me, ivory because I just wasn't a fan of the way the blue was looking. So we have that. On to our plaid for this cover here. And like I said, it's already been inked. Again, watch your magnet. And there we have it. We have this here. And we can put this in the book. And I already have my score tape down to do that. I'm just going to put this down and line it up with my other pages, minus that 1/2 inch. So I want to line it up here and try to line it at the bottom and top of that. And if you kind of line it up with the paper, it works. Oops, it works really well. You just have to hold on to it or it'll slide around on you. I just want to make sure that my pages, when they open and close, are the same height. All right, smooth that down. And there we have that. So we have our mirrored image pages here. that open twice with tuck spots. All this room for photos. So much room. And we have our magnets to hold it closed. So on to page 6. Page 6 is going to be a collaged page with some little flip photo mats. So what I've cut for this is from some scraps, I cut 4 pieces, 2 from one sheet and 2 from another. Okay, so now that I have these 4 by 4 inch squares cut out, I'm going to go ahead and adhere these to the page. And we will have this fun little collage when we're done. And you can cut these from any of the papers. We're just going to leave some space of the Kraft showing all the way around. I'm going to start with this top one. It's just another fun way to do a page a little bit differently than the typical. I seem to have lost my pin for my glue, and I need that. Okay, so I'm going to start with that top one. Again, these are 4 inches by 4 inches. If you want a little less of the Kraft paper showing under your collage, then, and you want them all to touch and just have the outsides, I would say make them 4 1/16 by 4 1/16, and then they'll fit on your page. And I'm just going to work from that. I'm going to start with that. I have a nice little amount of the Kraft showing all the way around. And I'm going to put this one down. And I've already inked these with my Vintage Photo Distress ink. All right, and then our blue ones. Oh, I also wanted to mention that I did go back and add some strips. I just took a scrap from my paper, scraps that I had in my bin of this paper here. And I did go back and cut these 3/8 by 8 and 3/8. Let me see here. They're 3/8 inch wide. And they're 8 1/8 inch long. So these were just strips, and I put them in between in those 1/2 inch pages. So there's a total of 5 of them. So I have one at the beginning here, and then here, here, and here, and then the other 2 pages that we're going to do. All right, last one of these little squares that goes in. And I just try to line them up with each other, meaning I want to line this one up with this top one and try to line it up as good as I can with this one as well. And so we have a nice little collage page here when it's done. And that looks really cool. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to add some little offset pockets like so. And then these are going to have some photo mats in them like this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just add these pockets really quick, and you can, this is optional, you can do this, you don't have to do this, but you want to make sure if you are doing this, adding these, that your pockets fit whatever size photo mat you're making, and that you only glue those 2 sides and across the bottom. So we're going to start with one about here. And then my other one will overlap. Now mine, I will tell you, are 2.5 inches tall, and they are 5 3/8 inches long. And I'm just extremely sparing with that glue, just down the sides and the top, or excuse me, the bottom. And I'm going to overlap this so it hangs over that one a little bit. And trying to make sure I center it still so it's nice and straight. And now you have these. And I'm just going to take 2 pieces of the Kraft cardstock, and these measure, these are Artisan Kraft at 4.5 by 4.5, and then I have Ivory that is 4 3/8 by 4 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead and add those and stick them in there. Okay, so I've made those 2 little photo mats, and I will show you how easy. So these just are going to slip in to those tuck spots, just like so. Okay, so we have pages 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 done. We will now move on to 7 and 8. All right, so moving along, we have our, so far, we have our pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we just finished 6. Now, I did go in and add this fun little element here, which is one of the cut-aparts, and I added a little, one of the die cuts down here. And then I just have these fun little photo mats inside, slipped inside of there. So our next page, which is page 7, flip side is page 8, we're going to do this fun gatefold page. And if you watched my Majestic Dreams album tutorial, this is done very similar. However, this will have a magnet closure rather than the pockets on the outside. So what you're going to need for this is this fun little border strip here, and I have just backed that with Ivory cardstock, and then we will have Kraft cardstock as a mat as well underneath of that. These 2 pieces here for the front gates, if I could find my ruler, where did it go? These are going to be 3 7/8 by 8 1/8. And then the back sides of those will be Ivory cardstock, also 3 7/8 by 8 1/8. Your 2 gates, excuse me, are, these are 4 inches by 8 1/4. And then we simply, our page here is a piece of the Artisan Kraft, and this measures 9 1/4 by 8 1/4, and then it's scored on both sides in at 1/2 inch, and that's where our gates will be attached. And you can do this the other way as well, where these are a 1/2 inch bigger and you fold them in. I just chose to do it this way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to adhere these to these folds. So we'll put one on each side. I'm just going to grab glue, and I am going to run it. I'm going to actually set my book here off to the side so I don't get glue where I don't want it. And we're going to attach these and get this page decorated. So you're just going to run glue right down that 1/2 inch fold line. Try not to get it on the page itself like I just did. And then I just want to set my gate door, so to speak, lined up nicely with that score line. And then we will burnish that out. And open it up and burnish it inside as well. And then we have our first door. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Go ahead and run that glue right down. You can use score tape for this as well. And then I'm going to attach my other door. And these are cut, so there's a little bit of space in between the 2 doors on purpose, so they don't move, and when you move them and open and close them, they don't rub against each other. I got that a little crooked, so I'm gonna pull that up and re-glue. And I'm gonna try, sometimes holding it, the one underneath against it, or even tapping it on your table will get it to line up a little better. And I have done it. Okay, so I'm just going to burnish that out like I did the first one. Get rid of any excess glue. Burnish that inside as well. We want that nice and flat. And then I'm going to work from the inside out. So now I have this plaid here. You could do this side as well. I'm going to do the plaid. And this is going to measure 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. And I'm going to go ahead and run some Vintage Photo Distress ink on that, just like I have all of my papers. I've not inked any of my solid papers, only the decorative paper collection pieces. I just like those done. So I'm just going to put my glue on the back of this. Again, this is 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. I may have to make more of these larger albums. This is my first. I don't normally make albums this large. I think the biggest I've ever made is a 7-inch album, possibly 8. But I'm actually kind of liking this larger. It gives you a lot more space to work with, making your papers coordinate and such. So you want to make sure you put this on here evenly and away from your score lines, so that these doors will open and close. I'm just going to grab a cloth here, burnish this down nicely. And so you have all that space for photos. It's just absolutely gorgeous this way and easy to do. So then we're just going to take our ivory, 3 7/8 by 8 1/8, of course. Both of these. And I am, like I said, I don't ink my solid pieces. You can if you choose to. And those are going to go on the sides of our gates, on the inside, covering that 1/2-inch score line that we made. And we don't want to go over our score line. Just right up to it and leave some of that Kraft, beautiful artisan craft cardstock showing on the side, as well as the top and bottom. Get that on there nice and neatly. I'm just going to take a bone folder and make sure that all of that glue is adhering nicely. Do the same thing. I don't have enough glue under here. I'm just going to run a little bit more glue under this edge here. It wants to lift a little. All right, put this one on. And line that up. And you can line this up with the paper as well, in the middle. All right, and then there's going to be a belly band underneath, and that's where we're going to house our magnet that is on top underneath our belly band rather than on here. So I'm going to grab that belly band really quick here. Okay, so for the belly band, I have grabbed a piece of the Kraft, Artisan Craft cardstock. And I have done that, let's see if I can find my bone folder here. So this is 9 1/8 by 2 1/2. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut, or excuse me, score this at 1/2 inch on both ends. So you wanted it Did I do that correct? I want 8 1/8 in the middle, so I want to make sure that I cut this properly. I have 9 1/8. Yes. So then we want to come in to, we'll just do it on both sides at 1/2 inch. Okay. And then we're just going to burnish those, fold those down. This is going to be our belly band. And then I'm going to take this piece of a scrap that I have. I'm going to ink this up. And then I will let you know what this measures. And we will be placing our magnet on this because I want it as close as I can get it to the other portion, which is the door. So this is going to go right on here. And we are going to place our magnet underneath of here. So I'm just going to grab a magnet. And I am going to put it off to the side because, let me move my scoreboard here. Because when this closes, we want to make sure that wherever we put this magnet, it's going to line up. So what I'm going to do is I am going to figure out exactly where we want this at. I'm going to put the belly band down. I'm going to close this. Okay, I got that a little long, I think, maybe. Let's see here. So we have the magnet there. We're going to have this covering, and we want about the same amount of space in between. So this is where I want to figure out where I want this at. And this will be attached on this side. So I'm thinking that that is probably about correct. So I know that I need my magnet in between these and off to the side. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to put that down. I'm going to take the sticky off of there, and I'm just going to put this off to the side of my belly band. I'm going to add glue to the piece that covers our belly band. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to make sure the magnet is on this side. I'm going to go ahead and put my belly band down on the page now. Just add glue to those 1/2 inch gussets, making sure that your magnet is on the right side. And we want to go right about the middle of the page here. And these plaid papers, it makes it easier to line it up because you can see that you're in the middle of the page and that you're getting right along those lines. So I like using plaids a lot when it comes to belly bands. So we're just going to go underneath there with the bone folder and make sure that those are laying down properly. And then I'm going to close my book again. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to figure out where we need this magnet to land. And it looks like right about there is where we're going to have it. I want this piece to line up pretty close to the middle. So that's where our magnet is going to sit. Okay. And I'm just going to grab my pencil and I'm going to draw a line on either side of this is going to be covered in paper. So this will help me remember exactly where I need to go with that belly band. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to add this to this and then we will put it on. Now that I know where my magnet goes, I can do that. But I think, actually, let's pull it down just a bit. So this is more in the center of this piece of paper where it's going to make it a little more, there we go, make it a little more difficult to put this on because it's skinnier. I'm just going to add glue to the back of this. Again, I backed this border strip. I cut it out and then I backed it with an Ivory cardstock. And then I've backed it again with our Artisan Kraft. Okay, now that I know where that's at, this is a little trickier because it's smaller and we have that magnet underneath of there. But you want to try, these magnets are very strong, the basic grays, but you want to try to get them as close to where they're going to adhere so that they have full strength when you put them down. And I just want to make sure that this is actually going to hold this closed. And it does. So when we put our paper on, I will know to use this line to line this up, okay? Because this is going to attach to our actual door. So let's go ahead. I'm going to ink these and put these on. They go like so. Wait, whoops, I got those backwards. They go like so. And these were cut from the same piece of paper, so I got that same scene there. I'm going to go ahead and ink these. And again, I'm using Distress Ink Vintage Photo with this paper. It goes really well with the beach theme. The inking, as always, is optional. And any color you want to use, you can use. All right, so we have this side. We want to put on this side first so that we can line up with that when we put our closure on. So I'm going to go ahead and put this piece on first. Again, these are 3 7/8 by 8 1/8. Line that up nicely. Okay, and then this one, excuse me, our little band here, we need to glue down to this page. So we want to line that up with our magnet. Okay. And then, so it looks like we need the glue just on this end up to about the shell. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball this and not go beyond where my thumb is there. And then we'll put it back on. Make sure that it's touching that magnet. And make sure we're nice and straight. And then we can burnish it down. Super fun kind of closure. I like this. And then as you can see, you have this fun little closure. So now we can go ahead and we can put our other side on. And I want to try to line this up with the other one on the other side. So I'm going to close it now that I have it down. Just try to make sure that it all is coordinating well as far as size. Then I will take this open again and we will burnish this all out. What a fun page. And I will be putting there's lots of room here for pictures, lots of room here for pictures, and I will be putting a photo mat in our belly band as well. So that is another fun way to make a page. So next I'm going to go ahead and put this in the book, and then we will move on to decorating page 8. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this in my book like we have the rest of the pages, and I'll be right back. Okay, so page 8 is a pocket page. I mean a pocket on the page. So for this, we obviously have our back side of page 7, and then your 8 1/8 by 8 1/8 paper here. And then you're going to need a pocket. This was made using the Artisan Kraft cardstock, and it started as, I write them on here, but I always want to make sure. It started as 9 1/4 by 3 1/2, and it is scored on 3 sides. So down one side, down the other, and across the bottom at 1/2 inch. And then what you want to do is you just want to grab some scissors and miter those corners like I do all of my pockets, like so. And then we are going to have a piece that measures, and I've done this one with the little bathing ladies, swimming ladies, I guess I should say, 3 1/8 by 8 1/8. And these are going to go on this page here. So, and then our page 9 will coordinate with this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this page. And place it down. We don't have any magnets or anything to contend with on this page. So I will place this one down. And you could put only a partial page, knowing there's going to be a pocket on here. I like to cover the page. That way this paper, the papers that are from Country Craft Creations especially are a very smooth paper. And it makes it a lot easier to slide something such as a photo mat in that pocket if you have done it that way. So I'm going to go ahead for my pocket now, and I am going to burnish all of my score lines so I have a nice crisp pocket. And then I'm going to ink this piece and go ahead and place it on the pocket before I put the pocket on the page. You can do it either order. This album just has lots of room and different interactive ways of placing your photos, and I love that. So we want the opening on this side, so on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this, or excuse me, glue this. And I will put that on my pocket. Making sure that it has some of that Kraft showing all the way around, and that my opening is on the right. The side that is not scored needs to be on the right side, and we will place that on our page. And again, you could do this with score tape. I'm just going to use glue, and I am going to add glue just to those 1/2 inch flaps. And I'm going to bring in my book and line this up right with that edge where the Kraft cardstock is. So we want to make sure this lines up nice and neatly. And then I'm going to use this side, and I'm just going to press this down really well with a rag, and I'll turn it and move it on the other side as well. So now we have this fun pocket page. Next, we're going to add pages 9 and 10. And these are also, let's see, there's not enough glue right here on this edge. Sometimes the accordion spine systems, when you start getting heavier stuff in here, it doesn't want to adhere. So I just want to make sure I get that. So this side, we're going to have on here is going to coordinate. So here's our page, and we will have the other 8 1/8 by 8 1/8 of this paper here. And this is going to have a pull out. So this will be put on the page, and it will coordinate with our pocket, but this is actually going to have more paper on the inside. As you can see, let me pull all of my decorative paper out. This is what this is. So this will be adhered by this flap. It'll open this way, and then it'll also open again. And you'll be able to open it out this way as well. So lots of room for pictures. So this starts as an 8 1/2 by 8 1/4, and it is scored at 1/2 inch and 4 1/2 inches, okay, of the Kraft. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to set the book off to the side again so that we can decorate this page. We'll start with our background. No, we'll start with this. We want to put this on first because we want the background paper to hide our flaps. So make sure that when you fold this, you have your 1/2 inch and your 4.5 inch. You want to fold this way and then fold that 1/2 inch flap back over, because that 1/2 inch flap is what's going to adhere to our paper. So I'm just going to add glue to that. Again, this can be done with score tape. And I am just going to make sure that I have this so that my opening, again, is where I want it. I'm going to pick up my page because I want to make sure that this lines up perfectly to that edge. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to tap this on my table a couple times, which didn't work. Let's try this way. So we just want to line that up with that scored edge so that this is right on the edge of the paper. Okay, and it looks like I'm a little tall here. Let me just pull that off really quick before it dries. And this is one of the reasons I use glue, because if you catch it in time, you can re-glue. The glue doesn't quite dry that quickly. Although our glitter glue does dry fairly quick, it doesn't dry so quick that you can't pull the paper off without ripping it if you make a boo-boo, and I like that. So when I'm doing flaps and such like this, I prefer to use the art glitter glue to score tape. Other parts of the album, score tape is great, but for this, I just prefer my art glitter glue. So now, as you can see, our page will open this way. It'll also open this way, and it can close this way, and you have all of this. And this will also have a magnet closure. All right, so for the magnets for this page, now that we have this adhered, before we place this paper down, I want to take 2 sets of magnets. Again, I'm using the small basic grays, and I want this to adhere to this paper here. So I want to put these magnets right at the edge of here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put one side of your magnet, if I can get the sticky off, on this page here, on around the top. We want to make sure you have room to burnish your paper down though. So we're going to do 2 here. Okay. All right, and then we're going to add the other magnet, the other side of each magnet. And I'm just going to put a little bit of score tape on each one of those magnets, the double-sided, and pull the sticky off so that I can stick it down to my paper underneath. Okay, that one doesn't want to go. So if I can get the score tape off here, I'm sure there's an easier way to do this, and I just haven't learned it yet. So now, as you can see, we have stickiness on both of those. So then we're going to close our flap and just push down on those magnets. So then when you open, there they are. They're where you want them. So go ahead and take your sticky off, your backing off the stickies of the sides here. We don't want those on there. And we will go ahead and add this paper. So I'm just going to ink this up with my Vintage Photo Distress ink. And this will place right down over those magnets. Add our glue. And we're going to place this right down on that page on top of those magnets. Make sure you don't get right next to that, next to the score line, but not on top of it. Okay. And then really try to be cautious. I'm going to use a rag rather than a bone folder around those magnets because I don't want to tear my paper. And then I'm going to use a bone folder on this portion here on all of the edges just to make sure all of that glue is laying down. Okay, so then we can decorate this as we go. I have pieced together some different squares that will go in here, and anything you put in here is going to be 3 7/8 by that 8 1/8. Okay, so I have some of this wood look here that's going to go on the bottoms of these, and then I have these for the tops. And I basically went back through and just cut from my scraps. I will tell you, as soon as I find all the pieces, they're all laying all over my desk here. I have another one of those somewhere. But that's what I have. I'm going to have some different squared pieces, and I will go back and I will put those in. But the most important part is covering this flap. So we want to cover that one, and then of course our cover. So I'm going to do the cover, which matches our pocket on page 7, or excuse me, page 8. So I'm going to go through and ink this really quick. And place it down. I just love how this collection coordinates so well. If you put the flip sides together, part one side on part of it and the other side on another part of it, it just coordinates beautifully. So now we will cover this portion here. Trying to line it up with this paper here is how I am eyeballing this. A little bit over. Okay. And now, as you can see, we have this fun pocket. So now I'm going to go through, and I want to add paper, obviously, to this. We're going to go ahead and do, let's do this wood look here. Go ahead and put that piece down first. So we're just going to put one on the bottom, and then I'll have one on the top. And you can do single pieces, and they would be 3 7/8 by 8 1/8, or you can split it into 2 like I am doing. I was trying to utilize as much of my scraps that I had as I could, is why I went about it this way. And I am going to use the blue on that one. I don't want it to be too busy. I like to use up as much of my scraps in my paper as I possibly can. I hate throwing away beautiful paper, as most of us do. All right, so there we have that one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add the last 2 here. So there we have those 2 pages. Lots of room. You could put 4x6 photos. The smaller little mini camera photos could go on these pages. So now we're going to cover this one. And I'm going to use this gorgeous paper here. I've already inked that. Again, 3 7/8 by 8 1/8 for these flaps. I don't think I got enough glue there. I'll make sure this adheres good, especially to the magnets. right. Beautiful. Okay. Again, I'm going to use a cloth because I have magnets on this page to do my burnishing so that I do not snag my paper on the magnet with a bone folder. And you just really want to burnish around your magnets. Not so much that they pop through your paper, of course, but you do want to burnish them so that they're nice and steady. Okay, so now as you can see, we have this fun page. Closes up like so. You could even stick something in here when it's closed. And you have this here, and you can open it up and you have these ladies here and these ladies here. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick that in the book, and I will be back to finish up with page 10. All right, so we have page 9 in the book. Now page 10 is a fairly simple page. We're going to have our 8 1/8 by 8 1/8 background. I'm going to use this gorgeous blue, what looks to be, you could also do this scene. And I just might switch to that. No, we're going to do the blue side because I have some fun things that are going on this page. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. This one I'm going to ink a little bit more aggressively because I like that look of the vintage photo distress ink up against this gorgeous aqua colored paper. It just looks a little more beachy that way. Okay, so there's your 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. There will be no magnets or anything on this page either, so we don't need to worry about that. We're just going to have a couple fun flips for photo mats on this page. Just going to put that down. Perfect. Yep. Really want to burnish that on that spine piece there, the page piece. Okay, so for this one, like I said, we're going to have some fun little flips. So what we're going to have, we will have a flip, and we're going to use some of the cut aparts to make some really pretty flip up photo mats. Okay, so we will have this gorgeous blue piece here. This is going to cover our pocket. I need to cut that down. Now that's a flip. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong piece. This is our tuck pocket. So 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 will be our first piece that we put down. Okay, and this is going to be the paper I'm going to use. And then I have two pieces here. This one is 4 1/4 by 6 3/4, scored at 1/2 inch on the top. These will tip in like so, and they will lift up. Now you could put magnets if you wanted to. I am not choosing to do that. And we will have two like this. Okay, so two 4 1/4 by 6 3/4, scored at 1/2 inch at the top. And then your pocket piece is 6 1/4 by 4 1/4, and it will go right across here. And I will find a piece of scrap and let you know what I use for this. Okay, so our pocket piece, which is going to be a tuck pocket, this is actually 6 1/4 by 4. Okay, so the piece of paper that I cut from my scraps is going to be 6 1/8, and then it is 3 7/8 inches tall. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my pocket. This is a tuck pocket, so we won't be adding any gussets to this pocket. You can if you want to put something thicker in there. Okay. Just going to burnish that out nicely. And like I said, if you wanted to add magnets on this page to make your flips stick, you can. Like I said, I'm not doing that. So I am going to grab some skinnier score tape because I want more room in this. I'm just going to grab some of this score tape that I have. That is, I do believe this is 1/4 inch. Yes, I have 1/4 inch score tape here. And I'm going to put that on the sides and across the bottom of my pocket, right at those edges, rather than using glue for this part. Fuzzies. So let me just get these on here, and then I will put this back in camera view. Oh, that's too far. I want to get these as close to the edge as I possibly can, so we have more room to stick a photo mat in here. All right. So this is how I did that. I have my 1/4 inch score tape on these 3 sides. I'm just going to burnish that score tape down, and then I'll peel up the backing. Okay, and then we just want to kind of line this up, not directly in the middle. We want it kind of offset. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the lines in the paper to kind of guide me. So I'm going to go over just a bit, right about there. Now we have this beautiful tuck pocket. Okay, then you're going to take your 2 flips, and now I need to go ahead and score this one. I did not get my 1/2 inch score line on the top of this one yet. So 4 1/4 by 6 3/4, scored at 1/2 inch on the top. Okay. All right, so I have my cut aparts from the paper here, and there's 3 of them. So I'm going to choose 2 of these 4 by 6s. I love this little one of the children, so I'm going to use that one. And then I think, because this is the same background as the paper, I think I'm going to go with that one. So we're going to grab these 2. All right, and these are going to go on the outside of our flaps that we made. And I'm going to go ahead and ink these with my Distress Ink Vintage Photo. Get both of these once. Right, so I have my ink on there, and I'm going to put these on the outside of my flaps. And these will kind of act as a double photo mat, because you could put a picture over the top of this if you wanted to, or you can choose to just put one on the inside when it's flipped open. And I have a little bit of extra if you want to make these skinnier for the 4 by 6s so that you have less craft showing. I wanted that much craft showing. On the back side, I'm going to take some Ivory cardstock that measures 4 1/8 by 6 1/8, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the underside. You can use any color you like. You could leave it the craft if you so choose. I just wanted this added contrast of ivory on the back side of my flips. Keep in mind, the back side will not have as much of the craft showing, and I did that on purpose. You can measure these any way that you like. And then we'll do our other one really quick here. We are almost done with this album. Just need to do the lining and the inside covers, and I will decorate the front, and we will be done with this album. And I certainly hope that some of you grab this paper if you're a beach lover, or if you know a beach lover that likes photographs and likes to keep memories of their beach trips. This paper is absolutely perfect for that, and I love this paper. I am a huge lover of the ocean and going on trips to the beach with my family. And some of you may know that I go every single year with my best friend of over 35 years. We go every single year. Actually, I don't think we're quite at 35 yet. I'm aging myself, but it's pretty close to 35. Our daughters are both 30 years old, and we met in high school. So yeah, we've been friends for a very, very, very long time. And this probably, if I don't give this as a gift, this album will probably be used to house those types of photos. So we're going to take our two little flaps. We're going to start with this one, and we're just going to kind of place it where we think we want to put it, leaving a little bit showing. And then this one will go a ½ inch above that one. Okay. So I'm going to pull this one over so you see both images. And I am going to use score tape, I believe, on this. Now I just do it with glue. It'll work. For the sake of being quicker and doing this on camera, I am going to do this with my glue. So I want this one in and down a little further, and we don't need to see the bottom of that pocket. My pocket is kind of going to be hidden under our flaps, and that was the whole purpose. And we will add some of this blue background paper here. These will be 3/8 inch by that 3 7/8 long, and those will go in there. And our second flap is going to go just above that one. So we want to go right at the top of that one and maybe in just a bit. And then I'm just going to push up a little with my glue so that I can see the very bottom of this, because I'm probably going to put one of these gorgeous die cuts down here as well. It's optional, of course, like everything else. And this is where I said you could put a magnet here if you wanted to. And then you can slip something in this pocket. I will probably put a smaller photo mat in there, and that matches these. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cover these two, and then I will be back to show you that, show you what I've done with the pocket, and then I will do the lining on the inside with you. Okay, so I have those all adhered. And I have gone ahead and just made a photo mat using a I believe it was 5 1/4. Yes, 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 piece of the Artisan Kraft, and then a 5 1/8 by 5 1/8 piece of Ivory. And that slips in perfectly in our little tuck pocket. And I will tell you, I did take a bone folder and went inside of my pocket just to kind of loosen that paper up. And I added these. These are to cover our little ½ inch gussets back here, just for a better finished look. These measure 4 1/8 by 3/8. Okay. And I want to make sure that I get you the right measurement there. And then I'm going to add probably one of these fun tucks, these fun die cuts that come with the collection. I just haven't quite decided which one yet. So I will do that when I finish decorating. So now what we want to do is we want to see I want to let you know what you need to do the lining if you do it like I did. So I already have everything cut out for both my linings and my covers. And I will show you if I can get them apart. I have a paper clip stuck. Okay. So my covers and linings have multiple mats. They have 2. I wanted to add a little bit of Papa Blue in there, so that's what I have done. for my covers. So the covers have 2, and then the linings. And I'm trying to see what I had cut here for my pockets. And just give me 1 second here. Okay, so we're going to start with the back. It's a little bit more complicated, and this will have the natural artisan cardstock is what I've used for this. I wanted the insides. I used a regular ivory cardstock from my stash for the insides of the album, most of them, and the inserts. But for my background of my lining, I really wanted to use a little bit sturdier. So we're going to do this one, and this is going to be at 8 3/8 by 8 3/8, and that will be our inside lining on the back. We're on the back side now. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to put this piece, and you can follow along or do this your own way. This is, let me see here. I think I cut that wrong because yes, I need to cut that down. Not quite sure how I ended up with too much of that, but this will be our top. And then I also will be putting this, I apologize. We have this, which is a pocket, and I'm going to add a little tuck spot, or excuse me, a little notch in this. We have this as the cover of that pocket. And then our bottom pocket will be gusseted, and it will be this. So as you can see, you'll have a pocket here and a pocket here for photo mats, and they coordinate quite nicely. And that pocket is from I will let you know the measurements here. Done just like all my pockets are done. This is 9.5 by 3.5, or excuse me, 3 3/4, and it's scored at 1/2 inch on both sides and down the bottom, and then we miter those corners. So I'm gonna go ahead and I am going to put all this stuff with the ink and all that and get that ready, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my artisan linen cardstock in the back, and then I have this sheet here already inked. Now we're going to add our pockets. So the first pocket, we want to line it up with that paper, and I have placed score tape across the bottom. This is how I do these kind of pockets. There's many ways to this. You can also gusset them both. But for this one, I have just placed this here. And that's just going to ensure that when we put something down, because we're just going to glue the sides of this, this is a little bit tighter pocket than the bottom one, but things won't go all the way through. If you want it to go all the way through, just eliminate this piece here. So I want to place this on here, and then place my other pocket so that I can see where they're going to line up, and I can see that's about where I want that one. So I'm going to go ahead and take that score tape off and do that again. So we had that right about, let's put this one on, and then I can slip it in. We just want to line this bottom one up with that paper on the bottom, this background piece here, and we need to make sure that this is hidden. Again, we want this to tuck. We don't want to put glue on the whole thing. So just on the sides, and then go ahead and look at this again, just to make sure I place this where I want it. So I'm going to grab a hold of the other pocket to make sure when I place this that it's where I want it, and then I can straighten it out. Okay, whoops. I don't want that slippity stuff going on. I'm just going to get that lined up. And they're a little off here. Let's go over to the side just a little more. Okay. So then we have our first pocket down, and really adhere that score tape if you're doing that step to the bottom. As you can see, now we have this fun pocket here, but it won't be as, it'll be a little bit tighter pocket than this one. This one you'll be able to put thicker things in. And I'm just going to add the glue to my 1/2 inch flaps here from this pocket. This was, you know, I cut the top of this off, so I don't remember what my measurements are on this one. This is 9 and 9 1/4, scored on both sides a half to make 8 1/4. And then it was 4 1/8 inches tall, scored at 1/2 inch across the bottom. Okay, so we just want to make sure, probably going to get glue all over my fingers, that we place this right down along the edge of that one. And right down to the bottom of the page. There we go. So now we have this fun double pocket system in the back of our book. I'm going to burnish that down really, really well. And on both the inside and the out of those score lines. And now you can see you have these fun pockets. And this one, having that in there, it won't allow for this to go all the way through. If you wanted it to go all the way through, you can do that as well. So that is our back cover. Next, we will do this cover, the inside cover, okay? So for this one, we are going to, again, place down the linen paper. That is 8 3/8 by 8 3/8. That will go down first. And just like so. And then I have taken my scraps and I made an angled pocket. And I will tell you approximately, this was cut from the longest, this would be, this is an 8 3/8, so the same width as our lining. And it was also, I do believe, yes, 8 3/8 tall. And then I scored 1/2 inch. I cut that piece in half to make my angle. And then I did the collaging with my strips of paper, just as Tamara's done. Sandy also has a quilt background tutorial that you can watch, Sandy Trefker. And this was done with Tamara's recent 4th of July album, as well as in my Majestic Dreams album. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this page down. All right, so now we have our angled pocket. We have this fun flip open system with all this room for photos, and this is magnetized. Our page 2 and 3 coordinate very nicely. We have two, both sides have pocket pages that you can fit a large photo album, or excuse me, photo mat, or something else in here if you like. Our next page here is a fun system. So we have two doors that open this way, and then underneath we have two larger doors that open this way. Just look at all that beautiful space for photos that you have there. Love it. And these are also pockets as well on these. So then we have our page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, page 6, sorry, that has this fun little element that opens, and two little tuck spots with photo mats. Super fun. This little gatefold page here are page 7. This little banner here, which was used to create a magnetic tuck spot. And again, we have a nice size belly band inside here that we'll be able to put something in. Room for photos here. We have another one of those spreads for photo mats in pockets on both sides, which I will be adding. And then our page 10 is this fun flip page with a pocket for a photo mat. And you have room for photos on the back sides, and you can put them on the front. And then finally, our back page here has two pocket system. So you have a pocket here and a pocket here, and you can embellish that any way you like. So that is how I created my By the Seaside album. Again, we have a 3-inch spine, so you could even add more flips and flaps and pockets that you want. I'm going to go ahead and decorate the outside, and I will have made a walkthrough for you. I certainly hope you've enjoyed my tutorial, and make sure that you go to Country Craft Creations store. That's countrycraftcreations.com, and check out all of Tamara's beautiful papers. You won't be disappointed whatsoever. They are wonderfully constructed and just absolutely beautifully designed. So have a wonderful crafty day, and until the next time I see ya. Bye.